I have my take is I have three children, as you can see. I'm the old guy compared to many compared to you lah. And by design, they don't get into my business. 20 years ago already, 22 years ago to be exact, I told them don't get into my business. And all three of them are accomplished professionals today. And so it is a tough road, not so much personal side, okay? I always say anyone can become the top boss even if you work for someone. You know, you can be a CFO or you can be a manager and then you get promoted to COO, CEO. You can still be the boss. We started our own business. Our company, we took the company public, and then my 50% share became 20 something. Today I still own 20 something. I'm still a minority out of the entire, you know. So the journey to entrepreneurship doesn't mean that you have to start your own. You can be entrepreneurial within a big organization, and you can still be the top dog at the end of the day. So I'm against the system of whoever trying to teach students and say go. The best thing to do is to start your own business. Then I said, what about opportunity cost? You know, and so this is very important. Just now when I show some slides, we look at the pros and cons, and really as young adults, all of you know your own strength. I believe if I ask anyone, everyone will say yes, I'm good at this and that. But when I ask what are you good in, they say, oh, I'm a procrastinator, and that's all. You know, quite often you get answers like that because no one wants to admit, no one wants to discover what your weaknesses are. So in order to have a successful organization, you really have to look at what is required for the organization to not just to be able to get out the first year, the third year. You look at long time more. So you look at the various components for the start. I started with 7. I didn't start with one person or two person, and we grew and grew and grew. You know, until very smart people. I went back to business school at the age of 46. So yes, keeping humble and knowing your own weaknesses, knowing what you need, is a lifelong thing.
Can I jump in a very funny story, short one, very short. So it was about 2 years ago, a student came to me, one of my students came to me and said, Prof, I want to start a social enterprise. I said, why do you want to start a social enterprise? I have this interesting messaging company, why don't you go check it out? So I made an introduction, I forgot all about it. And about 18 months later, she sent me a message to say, hey, Prof, thank you so much for introducing me to this startup. The company was WhatsApp. She paid $50 million in 18 months. Now she runs a social entrepreneurship fund, and I'm a chairman of a social entrepreneurship fund. And now she's actually living her passion. So I think to your first point, I think the Ben's point, you know, you don't have to be an entrepreneur to be entrepreneurial. Is a great point because this student of mine, you know, did very well for herself, joining an entrepreneurial firm, and now you know the company has 1 billion monthly active users.
So now we come back to a very interesting question: nurture versus nature. What is correct?
Well, to me, I think if you want to be an entrepreneur, in the first place you must ask yourself, right? Do you have the capability of doing? If you think you have, right? So you will do it. But why do I say that it's a combination of both? Because to me, you can be very intelligent, you can be very smart, you can be very extrovert, you can be very outgoing, but you don't plan. You can't plan. You don't have the courage to take the risk. You think too much, you're worried about this, you're worried about that. But you're very intelligent. Do you think you can be an entrepreneur? I tell you no. That's the reason why I say you need to have a combination of both. First, you must have a great passion in whatever you do. This is actually is always to me. Whatever you do, you must have a great passion in whatever you do. Then the success rate is much higher. If you don't have the passion, it's very difficult to succeed.
Okay.
Can I jump in
Sure, please.
slightly here? So I love this question because I think it ties in very nicely with the two questions. And on the opportunity cost and then on the nature versus nurture, right? So let's say you need some element that's nature, some element that's nurture. You want to find out how much of the nature part is actually in you, right? And you feel that you have that in you. Do it while the opportunity cost is really low, right? So you're gonna enter your senior year soon, right? And you have to go through a capstone project, right? That's 8 months. If you do an entrepreneurial one, that starts a bit earlier, so you get a whole 10 months, right? So we also heard that 90% fail in a year. So 10 months is close enough to a year, right? And then we have different types of entrepreneurial people, right? So you could be bringing the idea to the table, you could be bringing something else to the table. But what's the opportunity cost? You could have done a capstone for, I don't know, DBS, right? I don't want to say that's a much higher opportunity cost. All right, so sure, that's one more company that you sort of do an internship, but you've already done that by that time, right? So your opportunity cost is pretty low there, and you learn about how to raise funding. It's not much that you have to raise, so if you raise 3,000, the school will give you the next 7,000, right? But you still learn about the many skills for entrepreneurship during that time. So if you feel that this might be for me, I think that point in time is a good time because it's very low opportunity cost. So by all means, go for it then.
Great. He's given you the answer for it. I really think you should hold a debate on the nurture versus nature. I would like to come sit in and listen to it because I think it's a great topic.
This topic has been debated for many, many decades, but
Yes,
there's no answer.
there is no answer, and that's why it's a great topic. Right. Now, I think we've come to the close of this session. Thank you all for being such great audience, and I know you are all thinking, your mind is now ticking at very high speed. What are you going to do next? Tomorrow, day after tomorrow, and at the end of your course. That's going to be something that you have to think very carefully because the people here have shared with you pitfalls and successes as well as pains that you have to go through. So we also like to thank all our speakers here today. So maybe we should put our hands together for our speakers. Okay, I believe we have some networking, so you can still tap on all these gentlemen here if you want to have up close and personal advice from them, by all means.